few ideas. Because this is a future of documentary panel, I thought I'd give you some overview education on the differing types of VR as quickly as I can. So the form that I'm best known for practicing is, I call it kinematic. Sometimes called volumetric or walk-around VR. All the headsets coming into the market, ACC, actually that is not the Morpheus, that's an early version of a Sony headset, and I need to flip out that slide because we now have Morpheus out there. And the Oculus Rift all will let you walk around in a space. So what does that mean to be able to walk around in space? We employed this very early on with a piece called Project Syria. It was commissioned by the World Economic Forum, and here's a little trailer that kind of gives you an idea if the trailer's going to play. Of course it's not. Hang on. Of course it's not, but it'll only take me a minute to do that for you. Built for $35,000. We had to build it in 6 weeks. In the middle of trying to find the source material, I actually contacted a Spanish photographer, and 20 minutes after I reached out to him, it came over on Twitter that he had been kidnapped. He was released, but it gives you an idea of the kind of journalistic time pressure we had to try to make the piece. At the World Economic Forum, we had everybody from Peter Gabriel to John McCain go through, and the Syrian contingent. But on top of that, in terms of journalism, we were brought to the Victoria and Albert Museum, and we were set up in their tapestry hall. This was our old gear. We used to make our own headsets and these motion capture camera that let you track where you walked, much like you'll see with the Enemy. Now they've got a great tracking setup. And it was sort of, old tapestries against the new technology. But the deal was that it wasn't advertised. So anybody who came to the piece just happened to wander in literally and see our crazy headsets. And it was 5 days. And the V&A is a world-class museum. So you had people from all over the globe. And at the end of it, we had 54 pages of guest book comments. And the curators told us they'd never seen such an outpouring. I was trying to find one of the comments. I haven't even read this whole book myself because it's so unbelievable what people say. Like, people coming out crying, whatever. But one of the most important comments I saw was that it was from somebody from Aleppo. And she said, when I saw this, I thought, how dare they make a game about my experience? But when I took the headset off, I wish that everybody in the world could see this piece. So we also use this similar for I want to say sports because I want people to have some wider idea. We ended up making a piece trackside for Formula One where we put you on in the middle of the pit crew, and then we had you drive a car. This is so cool, right? That's what he said. That's a kid. I need a little audio if it's possible, more. But that's when a kid says this is so cool, you've won the thing, right? But we then took it and we put you, 1-to-1 where you were tracked for where you were driving. So when you reached out for steering wheel and volumetric, that steering wheel was in the physical world for you to touch, right? And then we had a hydraulic that would allow the car engines to go. So this is just sort of an interesting way that we were adapting physical world and virtual world in a volumetric way. And of course, one of the very interesting things about all this is this undivided attention. It's a very emotional connection. You can't look at your cell phone. You can't talk to your friends. Quick turnaround. It's expensive. Beyond the crazy 6 weeks of Project Syria, we did something more simple with the Trayvon Martin case. We pulled this together in a week and a half with really one person full-time, 2 people part-time. We got the architectural drawings of the actual complex. We found real estate sites with interiors so we could model those out. And for anybody interested in this and thinking it's cost too much, Turbo Squid has so much material you can buy for very, very little. For example, we needed the exact replica of George Zimmerman's car, and we found it at Turbo Squid for $130, and we had it within 5 minutes, right? So what did we do to make it? We only relied on the audio that we could get access to inform the piece, meaning we don't know what happened with Trayvon and George. So we didn't model that part of it. All we did was try to create the story around the actual audio that we had access to. Is there any way to turn this up at all? Do I have the access?
You know, he was just staring.
Oh, he's just walking around the area?
At all the houses.
Okay.
Now he's just staring at me. Shit, he's running.
He's running? Which way is he running?
Down towards the other entrance of the neighborhood.
Okay.
So we used photographs, we used the court testimony, and we used George Zimmerman's own information he gave to the police to inform the build. But once the shootings happened, we take you into the interior with the witnesses who are calling 911, and we're inside the rooms with them. We're never out at the moment when George was killed. We try to stay, again, very true to documentary journalistic principles. Similarly, we did a piece called Kia that was with Al Jazeera America. We got two sisters try unsuccessfully to rescue a third sister from a fatal attack by an ex-boyfriend unsuccessfully, right? And using the two calls, phones that, their phones were recorded. So I had two phones to work with as they go in and out of the place where they are to try to find the police, to try to stop the thing. And we had Freedom of Information Act, photographs, reports, documents. The scene is pretty brutal. We don't put you in the scene at the moment of the death. Again, we're thinking about journalistically, do you need to be there? We're actually outside with the sisters when he kills her. And we use that. It's powerful enough, even though we very much could have taken those photographs of, you can see on the black, obviously on the left, that's the bodies that are covered up. But this is, you can see again on the left how careful we tried to model the interiors and the exteriors one-to-one. So now let's talk about cinematic VR or spherical video, typically seen on the cardboard or the Gear VR headsets. All kinds of different cameras are utilized for filming. It is, of course, realistic and very beautiful. This was a Calais camp, a migrant camp we worked with the BBC. Again, extraordinarily beautiful possibilities. But what are your problems, right? We talk about, if you look on both kind of the left and the right, there's my cameraman director trying to hold up the audio. He's in the scene, etc. And if you've heard about stitching issues, if you look at the girls in the black dress, you'll see how they'll disappear when they come together. That is the problem that you have with these cameras not exactly meeting. And then you have to go to digital technologies like Nuke to composite in to fix the problems. I'm going to wrap up to saying that the two forms will merge. All the cell phones, Intel is working on this. Qualcomm actually is releasing this summer a tool that literally with your Qualcomm chip-enabled phone, you'll be able to walk around people, scan them, and have a digital model like the one on the left. On the right at the top is Project Tango, where you're making digital recreations of your environment as you walk along. So these physical things, object spaces, you can walk around, they're coming right at you. And in the meantime, what we've been doing is scanning people. Like this is a character we scan, and then we had to animate him. And the way that we animate them at this point is we have to use motion capture. And using real audio, again, you'll have to turn this up for me, we take you to a scene of what happens to young women when they try to go into Planned Parenthoods or health clinics.
You're a whore. You're a little whore. How about stop being a whore? You whore. Shame on you. Start closing your legs. Start having some respect for your body. Maybe your parents should have aborted you.
So, pretty incredible performance, right? So, which is, real audio. The audios are real, but we needed to recapture it in order to model it in the space. Now the cameras that are coming out as the two forms are merging are going to allow you to capture in volumetric ways. Lytro is one that shoots around you, has a little bit of depth. Uncorporeal is another system that's out there, and I haven't had a chance to play with it at all. But I am working closely now with a company called 8i. If you look in the background, you'll see those little cameras. They're all over. And it's video that captures from everywhere. The guy on the left I'm talking to, we shot him as part of a LGBTQ homelessness piece, because some 40+% of homeless youth come from the LGBT community who've been thrown out by their families. And he's talking about his experience, which is really incredible, and his remarkable way that he kind of dusted himself up and got back together. In any case, this just shows you kind of the different angles in which you're filmed, and it goes in full 360, so it's video that you can walk around. Okay, that's my primer on volumetric, or rather what I'm calling kinematic versus cinematic, and why I think for the future of VR documentary, the forms are going to merge. Thank you.